There are some conversations that stay with you long after they end. Not because they're polished, not because they're perfect, but because they're honest. Today's conversation is one of those. My guest today is Kim MacDonald. Kim has spent more than 2 decades in the automotive industry, building an incredible career, but behind that success was a woman quietly struggling with addiction, trauma, perfectionism, and the exhausting pressure to keep everything together. In this episode, Kim shares what it has looked like to begin rebuilding her life through sobriety, healing, boundaries, accountability, and learning to meet a version of herself she had never truly known before. What I love most about this conversation is that it's not a story wrapped up neatly with a bow. It's real. It's vulnerable. It's unfolding in real time. Kim openly shares what it feels like to move from surviving chaos into learning how to live in peace and the courage it takes to sit with yourself long enough to discover who you really are underneath the coping mechanisms, the performance, and pain. There is so much wisdom and honesty and hope in this conversation. I am incredibly grateful that Kim has trusted me and all of us with her story. So with that, please welcome Kim MacDonald to Her Becoming. There we go. Okay, so Kim, why don't you start off by telling us about yourself?
Oh, about myself. Oh, Lord. That wasn't part of the initial questions, Dara.
Just give me a brief intro for everybody.
Shoot. Well, I've made it over to Florida by way of California, Texas, and then Florida. So I've been in the Tampa area since October 2023. In automotive, this is I do believe my 23rd year. That went by quite quickly. So I know, right? It goes by so fast. It's always supposed to be temporary, right? Seriously.
Always.
I'll start as $11 an hour cashier in the service department. But no, I've professionally just excelled a lot over in the automotive space. Started out as a cashier, moved on to running a business office, and a lot on the retail side, sold cars, so dabbled a little bit in F&I. Then moved on to the vendor side, which is where I've been since about 2017. I was briefly there in 2013. So, as far as me personally, just I've had an interesting road. Very interesting. But grew up in Southern California in a cow town, and ended up moving to Texas in 2018, I do believe. So it'll be 8 years since I've been gone from California. Do not miss it at all. And then lived in Texas from 2018 until late 2023, and then moved out to Florida, where I absolutely love it. And it's just me and my cat.
Florida is amazing. And I know how you feel. I'm from California, and I don't like to admit that much anymore because, yeah.
There's a level of embarrassment. And then, the longer you've been away from California, I just went back, the end of last month, I had to go back, right? And it's been I think that was my 5th time since I left. 5 times in 8 years. And I landed in my hometown going, God, I want to go back home. I don't. I realize why everybody hates people from Southern California. It's an exception, I know, but it's a gross generalization, but it's true. It's a lot of it too is because you live in Tennessee now. So you got that little bit of Southern charm. And when you have to go back to other areas that live in that hustle and bustle where they have the blinders on, and I mean, somebody could just drop dead next to you, just walk right over you and just keep going. Whereas when you're in the South and places like that, it's more of a community. I also have an issue with making everybody my friend. So that's no different. But I mean, when I go to Publix and they're super sweet and they ask you about your day, you ask them about theirs, you kind of know them. You go to Starbucks, you grab your coffee, have a great day. They smile and say you too. When you're in other places, it's not necessarily like that. And it's kind of weird and it's jarring for you because you're just like, wait,
Right?
maybe smile and you'll have a better day. I don't know. So, but I mean, that's just in a
Oh.
nutshell. Really, my trajectory has been an interesting one. However, in this stage of my life, a lot of it is more geared towards gratitude and compassion and grace for that person that's ridden that roller coaster versus that shame and that
Mm.
guilt spiral that you can get in on. I should have done things different. I should have made different decisions and things like that. And um so yeah, I mean, for me, like where I'm at, just as far as who I am now, that's where I've stopped right now. That's where I'm at right now. It's just that little journey. If that makes sense.
And I love that because one of the how I actually wanted to start this after your intro was asking you how you would describe yourself in this season of life. So I'd love for you to just expand that a little bit. Who are
Um,
you?
it's my how do I put this? God, I'm gonna love editing. Um, because when you start saying it, you sound like you're like, am I bouncing all over? Because I do bounce all over the place. But
That's okay.
I would say where I'm at now versus anywhere else in my life has to do with that gratitude and that compassion and leaning more towards, for lack of a better term, towards spirituality and making more deliberate decisions.
Mm.
Not being so quick to judge, not being so quick and making emotional responses to everything. Because my emotions, like my therapist always says, your body is such a dramatic bitch. And it really is. And it's true, like really think about it
Yes.
because like if you're anxious, like your body just, some people get stomach problems, some people get headaches, some people just shut the f down and like the world just stops. And
Mm-hmm.
so if you keep on leaning towards those initial body responses, you kind of do yourself and others a disservice, but mostly yourself, because you're making a brash emotional decision rather than sitting with those emotions, walking through those emotions, and then really seeing what the core of the issue is, no matter if it's positive or negative, or even if it's indifferent. I think us as humans, and I can specifically speak for myself, I can survive really good when the whole world is burning down. Like when everything's doom and gloom and everything is like shit, I thrive because I'm like, okay, I know how to deal with shit. I know how to deal
Mm-hmm.
with indifference. I know how to just not have a specific emotion towards something and just keep logically like pushing through. But the problem that I get is that when things are actually going good and my life isn't dramatic and my life isn't chaotic and I'm not waking up at 3 o'clock with anxiety attacks and I'm not overthinking things and I'm not hitting submit on something for work going, oh shit, did I make a mistake? Or, I can
Mm.
consciously have, I can trust myself that I'm doing the things that I'm supposed to be doing because of living that life of, now it's honesty. Now it's a deliberate action. Now it's having compassion for that poor child that's been going through, and is hated every
Mm.
single version going forward and forward and forward on, I shouldn't have done this. I stayed somewhere I shouldn't have been, or, things like that. And so like in this season, I suppose, of myself, it's all about self exploration, but also I'm learning myself, as you know, like I've been on my sober journey for a little over 8 months. It's 254 days today, which is a trip.
Yay.
But I have never met sober me. And then
Oh.
there's people who I'm meeting now that only know sober me, but there's people that have been in my life for various stages that have never met this version of me, because I've never met this version of me. And
Mhm.
those that are really, really close with me, that, and my circle has gotten a lot smaller too. I could touch on that in a minute, but um they're getting to know sober me. And I think it's a little weird because a lot of people in my life were so used to my chaos and so used to my unpredictability
Mm.
and so much to my emotional instability and things like that. And that could be an adjustment as well. So like right now, it's things have calmed down, but now I'm feeling the feels. I'm working through a lot of trauma and a lot of emotions, and I'm learning how to sit with it a lot longer instead of just dumping and running, dumping and running. and it's a weird place. I feel like the analogy I use with my therapist is I feel like that pony or like that baby giraffe. You know, like you've seen the videos when they're trying to stand up on their legs and
Yeah.
they keep sliding down
Yeah.
on the
They're all,
goo and everything like that, and they can't catch their footing, and then they do the drunken toddler walk, and that's how I feel right now. It's like I'm trying to catch my footing. It's the only analogy I could think of right now, but I'm trying to catch my footing. Um, and trying to just stay true to my morals and my values and things like that also. And it's for some of you, you've been doing it your whole life. For me, it's been 8 months. So it's a little difficult
that's
to
so
say the
good though.
least.
And that takes an immense amount of courage, first of all. So I just
By the
want
way,
to
it's Red
applaud
Bull,
you.
just so you know. It's not a high noon. It's a Red Bull.
Oh my gosh. I love it. So first of all, thank you. Thank you for being willing to come and share and be vulnerable. Because sometimes when we have things that we're not so proud of, we like to hide them and just let everybody
Hmm.
see new me and never speak about that old person. So I want to thank you for one, being brave enough to do that, and two, trusting me with this. Because that is just, I promise you, I will handle this with immense care. And so I want to
Thank
dive into
you.
the questions I do have for you. Oh, my pleasure. For those of you who don't know and didn't maybe catch it in my intro, I used to work with this woman. That's how I know her. She is just phenomenal, and I adore her to pieces. And so, when she was telling me what she was going through, I knew I had to have her onto the show. So, in prepping for today, you shared that you were climbing professionally while quietly struggling. What did that
Hmm.
tension behind the scenes feel like?
It feels like you're trying to tread water with holding everything above water. And every so often
Mm,
you dip below and you choke on water and you just keep going. I would say because it comes in various stages, right? And so right
mhm,
now I've been doing a lot of reflection. And I would say for me, it's always been about like the perfectionism, and it's been about achievements. You're measured by everything that you can accomplish, and you're measured by what you can provide, and you're measured by um, literal like tick points, like like a barometer, I guess, or however you want to say it.
mhm,
Like there's all of these points that you have to hit, and once you achieve that, then you have a next one, then you have a next one, then you have a next one. And so when you're constantly pushing on adrenaline and you're pushing yourself, you tend to not you tend to shelf everything else. So what's driving you is that you never want to go back there, but you never deal with it. And so going through all of what I went through, I mean, shoot, I moved myself clear across the country. I said I didn't like California, and I always said that I would never move to Florida, and yet here I am and I absolutely love it. So, you know, freeing your higher power is just like here. We're gonna see how you deal with
mhm,
that. But as far as the journey, just moving knowing I didn't want to stay in California, the staying in California and things like that, just the areas and how I grew up and things like that, I needed to get away with it. I knew that I wasn't going to thrive in California. That just those weren't my people. That wasn't my place. That's not where I wanted to be. I always wanted to be in Texas. So like when I first started with Auto Alert,
mhm.
that's part of my territories that they gave me. They gave me the Northeast and they gave me Texas and Louisiana. So I had like two opposite ends. I used to make a joke too. I'm like, when I'm tired of getting yelled at, I'll just switch down to the South and just, you know. But all that being said, I worked really hard, and then that's when I proposed an idea to our VP and things like that, where I was like, hey, I want to move, and if you guys need boots
Mhm.
in the ground, and they built me a territory, and there I went in 2018. And even moving there, I brought a significant other with me that, unbeknownst to me, I should have known better because he was in jail before we went. But
Mm,
yeah. But
yeah.
before we went, I needed somebody to take care of my dogs when I was traveling and I was going to a different place and I didn't know anybody out there. And, you know, against my better judgment, and I didn't trust my intuition. So when I went there, it was scary, and I was by myself, and I knew that I had to do whatever it took in order to be able to pay the bills, put food, in the fridge, all of these things. Meanwhile, I'm not dealing with what my body is a panic response and what my body is trying to tell me that I need to take care of and I need to do. Um, and so during all of that time, I kept feeling like I was drowning, but I had to keep afloat, right? And
Mm-hmm.
that's really what you have to do when, at least for me, that's what I had to keep doing. Things got really bad in Texas, and at that point in time, that's when my addiction and my alcoholism and my eating disorder and all of that stuff started really coming out and festering and feeding on itself. But when I was at work, I was always focused. And then when I was done with work, it was like I was at the hotel bar, and for a long time, I was at the hotel bar or at like a restaurant bar or things like that. Like I wouldn't drink by myself. And then it got to a point where I needed to unplug. So I was by myself, but I was still drowning, but I still showed up to work. I still did all of those things. And even despite towards the end of my stay over in Texas before I left, um, all of that. Sorry, I had to mute sleep. So, but all of that being said, at the end of Texas, I ended up checking myself into rehab. I just finally got out of an abusive relationship. But he took everything, everything.
Mm.
And, I checked myself into rehab. Huh? You
I was
kind
gonna
of
say
remember some of
I
that?
remember that moment for you. Yep.
Yeah, so during that time, I wound up losing everything. I lost my house, I lost my cars, I even lost my job because FMLA didn't protect me at that point. So all the things I was afraid and working towards not losing while driving myself, right? That fear, because fear drives us all. Fear will kill you
Mm-hmm.
because it will drive you to
Right.
the ground or it'll make you make stupid decisions. And I will never forget. I'm sorry if I'm squirreling. I'm really sorry.
You're
I'm just,
fine.
things are coming to my brain, and it's so crazy how, talking about this. Um, so I was in this facility. I was in detox, and this is the insanity. I was in detox 4 times in less than 45 days. 4 times. 4 times. Let me go ahead and let you
Okay.
know for alcoholism, detox, you're there for at least 7 days. So
Okay.
basically a month out of 6 weeks, right? So all of that being said, the director of the detox facility was like, "You're gonna go to Nova, which is a rehab facility in Wimberley, Texas." And he was like, "You're gonna go to Nova," and I was like, "I'm not going to Nova. Like, I'm gonna lose everything." He's like, "You're gonna lose it all anyway." And I'll never forget that man going, "I'm gonna read about you in an obituary. That's what's gonna happen." I was like, "Okay, that's a little extreme there, buddy." So what does a person like me do? Dara, the person that I'm gonna push back on you. I'm like, "No, fuck you. I'm gonna prove you wrong." Right? That's just who I am. That's my
Mm-hmm.
personality. I'm just like, screw it. Like, this is your expectation. You can screw your expectation. But I'll never
Right.
forget losing everything. I didn't ultimately going to Nova. I went from one abusive relationship to another because patterns, right? I drank less than 60 days sober after I got out of there. I would make a joke, and I told them, I was like, "No, I just have a reset. I have a reset." Well, I was living on that fear. That fear was festering inside me. The fear was fueling me, like this poor Red Bull right here is doing to me right now. Um, but also, I've never had compassion or grace, right? So that goes to, I don't know, like your daughter played sports. I think you played sports too, where you're training and you're conditioning. So there's these things that if you try to do now, you drown, right? So for me in water
Mm-hmm.
polo, we would have to tread with these buckets of water over our heads, right? And you're trying so hard, but every so often you would just lose that strength and just sink underneath for a minute. And you get yelled at by your
Mm-hmm.
coach and go back up, right? It's kind of like that when I was still in Texas. And when I got out of there, I didn't have a job. I didn't have an apartment. I didn't have a car. I had to surrender my dogs. All of my remaining belongings were in a storage unit that I don't even know what they look like to this day because they're still in a storage unit in Austin. And I got released from Nova, discharged, I should say, on September 5th, 2023. By October 16th, 2023, I packed 3 suitcases and I was in flight trying to find an Airbnb to live at in Tampa after taking the position at the company I'm with now, which is insane.
What was that catalyst that made you just decide now is the time to change? Now is that moment?
you know what's crazy? So during that time, and I reflect on that time, just going, holy crap. And it's so hard to have compassion for that girl because that girl was so selfish and self driven, but
Mm.
desperately didn't want to be selfish and self driven. Like, I wanted just to be hugged, I just wanted to be protected. But just being like just a little porcupine, like you just, your quills go out. Go away.
Mm-hmm.
I'll get soft when I want you back in. And losing that job, I had interviewed at quite a few places. And you know how it is on this side of the game, where
Mm-hmm.
it's the right place at the right time. And Jesus Christ, I still hate that slogan, but it's true. You know what I mean? It's just you're at the right place at the right
Mm-hmm.
time. And my now boyfriend was like, we were just friends at that time, and he was just like, just something will land, just something will land. But at that time, I'm drinking again. I'm
Mm.
still traumatized from, the past. At that point in time, I would say this was 2023, so this would have been about 10 years into when things got into being in this decade of things progressively getting worse and worse and worse, and me just avoiding and avoiding and avoiding. And um, there was a woman that both of us worked at over at Auto Alert, and she was in training, and she posted something, and I had messaged her, and she was like, let me go ahead and connect you. So the VP of the team that I'm on with now, she ended up connecting me with him. And originally I had applied for the Houston territory. And I interviewed really well, apparently, but they backfilled it with somebody else who was part of a different automotive team. So they came back and they're like, hey, we really want to hire you. Look at the territories that are available and see if any of them strike your fancy.
Nice.
Well, it was between DC, Atlanta, and they call my market that I have Orlando. So I sent them my numbers, like the in order. So I was like, Lord, please don't give me DC. Don't give me DC. I can't do city living and I cannot do snow. So I chose Atlanta, then Orlando, then DC. This is how my higher power just came in and was just like, I know it's gonna be a minute, but just ride this wave with me, trust me. And of course, my spirituality, what then wasn't where it is now.
Mm-hmm.
And they ended up offering me the Orlando market because I have I have extensive experience in really large territories. And for some reason, that VP was like, I think she could take it. And this is the hardest market that I work. And so, yeah, I accepted the position on October 6th, 2023. And 10 days later, I was on a plane to Tampa, Florida.
I
And
love it.
I packed 3 suitcases, no car, no nothing. Mid flight, now boyfriend was like, it's so funny. I'm like texting him on the flight, right? And he's on Airbnb trying to help me find an Airbnb. I went from building the entire life that I always wanted to having to humble the F down. And I lived in a long term Airbnb with roommates from the time that I moved and I landed in Florida until last June when I finally secured my own apartment.
Oh wow.
And I think the reason why, long way around the block, I think the reason why I decided to say fine is my body was still in fight or flight, and that was my flight response. Is I'm
Mm.
leaving, even though I love Texas and I loved living in Texas. I miss Texas. Um, I needed to start a fresh start, literally away from everything,
Mm-hmm.
everything. And that ex that was abusive, that was terrible. Now he's thriving and he's 2 years sober and he has a baby and he's happy, and I am so happy for him. And to be quite honest, we've been each other's cheerleaders. It's crazy, I know, but
That's
just because we
awesome.
weren't good together,
Yeah,
we fed
exactly.
off of each other for sure. But all that to be said, when I first got here, it was hard. And my pride was there, but I was in that I'm gonna make it happen, I'm gonna make it work, I'm gonna make it happen, I'm gonna make it work. And I struggled a lot. I struggled personally. I struggled professionally because I didn't fully understand. I never done I never been leaned so much in marketing in general, and this is a marketing position. And then in Florida, so brand new territory, a brand new OE, and then doing fixed ops. And it was a lot. And then all of the life changes that I just kept going, and I never took a break. And I would say after all of that, it took me time. Because you know how, like, it takes you time to cool down. Once you start
Mm-hmm.
cooling down, um, once you start cooling down, then you start feeling the aches and pains. You see the cracks.
Mm-hmm.
You see, oh, wow, some of that paint is gone. And when all that realization kicks in, everything just starts tumbling down. And
So I think that's actually a really good. So I don't want to interrupt you, but I want to
no,
ask
you're
you
fine.
this question, and you're starting to go that path. So I want to make sure we touch on it because you said getting to know sober you has been one of the
Hmm.
hardest parts, and I want to know what has surprised you most about this woman you're discovering.
My therapist is like on the wall over there. Just kidding. um, I would say that the thing that surprises me the most is how resilient I truly am. I've heard it from a lot of people where they're just like, "You're like the strongest person I've ever met." And I was like, "Well, what are you smoking? Whatever you're smoking, you better knock it out of that pipe because I don't feel it. I don't see it." Um, and now I can see who I truly am. And life isn't always easy, but now when obstacles come my way, I've learned to sit with it. And I've learned that if I really do actually step back, I know how to suss it out. I know how to go, this does not align with my values. This does not align with my
Mhm.
morals. And just because it's an expectation of other people, or even if it's an expectation of myself, Sarah, it doesn't
Yeah.
matter. Because sometimes our expectations and our needs change and they evolve. And what surprises me the most about how I am now versus how I was then is my willingness to have grace and compassion for myself. And you'll hear me say this a lot, to where I go, does this align with where you see yourself? Are you having a dramatic response inside your body? Because if you are, you need to listen to those cues. I
Hmm.
have learned to sit with that. I had to walk away from a 28-year friendship recently because it it drained my soul. It did not feed my soul. And I saw it for what it
Mm.
has been for 28 years. And it's very, very difficult. But I've also learned that I learned the value of female friendship. I've learned the value and, again, compassion and love for yourself. It's not selfish.
Isn't it crazy how we will give so many other people around us grace after chance after,
We
but
don't give
yet we
ourselves
expect,
any.
yeah, exactly. No, we do not give it to ourselves at all. Right. Like we're
It's
supposed to be this perfect robot that always does it right, always gets it. And yet we will forgive and make excuses and give grace to everybody else.
it's it's amazing, really, actually, when you think about it. And
Mhm.
I remember it just felt different this time. Like this time that I've only been to rehab twice in my adult life, but this time going around, my intention, that's the word I was looking for. My intention was different, right? I still didn't have compassion for myself. I didn't have love for
Mm.
myself. I was just like, I just knew I did not want to feel like that anymore. Like everything with my professional life was good, and I finally secured my apartment, and I survived 2 hurricanes and like all this other stuff. And there just needed to be a change, right? And
Mhm.
when I was first sober, I was very kind to myself. And I wanted to leave so many times. But my best friend was like, "Hey, I'll come pick you up." And I was like, "I don't want to go home. I just don't want to stay here." She's like, "Yeah, but you just stick it out, you know?"
Mhm.
And I did. And it allowed me to meet a version of myself and like meet all sorts of different people. But also, meet my therapist that I have now that has me work on myself. She gave me an assignment when I was still in IOP,
Okay.
so intensive outpatient for some people who don't know. She's like, I want you to do a lesson in compassion. So I want you to spend an entire 4 days where every day you find signs of compassion out in the real world. Just simple signs of compassion. Okay. So it was very interesting because at the beginning I'm like, okay, this is fucking stupid. I don't even want to do this. Sorry, I keep cussing. I'm like, I don't want to do this. This is freaking stupid. How is this going to help me? Da 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 da. Then I was like, okay, I'm going to do it with intention. Like I have to intentionally do this. Then I started seeing little things. People holding doors open for people, people pulling chairs out for people. The sweetness of like the cutest old couple I've ever seen, and this man just hands the napkin over, puts his hand on his wife's back, things like that. And you start seeing those levels of compassion. Then once you start forcing yourself to be aware, then you start really actually seeing it. Then the next step of it was, how can you show yourself compassion? I'm a workhorse. I work. So one of the standing jokes now is that Kim just does not give time for herself. I work 7 days a week. It's what I do. This weekend is probably the only weekend that I completely unplugged from Friday afternoon when I went to the airport until this morning. But that's not giving myself compassion and recharging. That's what I'm learning now. But when she gave me that assignment, the whole point of it was this. If you can see it in others, how can you do that for yourself? Because if that's what your expectation is in a relationship, is compassion and grace, and you can't give it to yourself, how do you expect other people to give that to you, because they won't know how to give it to you? And it's very interesting because it goes back to some of the things that we've always been told. If you can't love yourself, how can you expect somebody else to love you? Well, if you can elaborate that on a more dumbing it down type of thing, until you get to that point of humility, right? Of stepping back and going, how do I want to be loved? Do I even love myself? Like, do I even like myself? And until you can learn those things through experience or age or whatever, I mean, I'm in my friggin' 40s, so now I'm just like, but I think that's one of the main things that that's important to learn in life, is that. But it is funny when you realize that you will give everybody. I mean, I gave that ex how many freaking times, tons of exes I've given, tons and tons of forgiveness. And for me, like I couldn't forgive myself. I was like, I can punish myself. And I think that that's just what I attracted at that point, was people who were going to capitalize on what I had to give and then punish me for giving it to them. And now I hold those things very, very close to my heart.
So true. And such great wisdom. Okay, seriously, I love, because it's been a while since we've had a real conversation, and I love this version of you I'm seeing. Oh my gosh. I'm like, okay, yeah, I would just want to give her a great big hug. So because, and you've touched on so much, I'm trying to figure out which direction I really want to go with this, but I want to go here because you mentioned, you just talked about not really knowing what healthy relationships, or even what your expectations
Did you freeze?
Of a relationship looked like. How are you redefining that now, personally and professionally?
Repeat that because you paused for a second. My hotel Wi-Fi.
No worries. So you mentioned not knowing what healthy relationships, or even your own expectations for those relationships would look like. So how are you redefining that now, personally and professionally?
Professionally is an easy way to answer that.
Okay.
I was told a while back that they are going to expect from you what you will continuously give. So if you keep giving your all, and you and I both know this, especially being on the road and being road warriors, you keep saying yes to everything and you'll do it right now, you become overwhelmed. But you're thinking them that you're setting that expectation for them. They think they can always come to you and you'll get things done right away. Whereas if you set the expectation and you set that boundary, right? Boundaries, I can give boundaries till the cows come home. Just don't ask me to keep them. That's what we're working on now. But all of that being said,
we'll talk more about that.
Right. So that being said, professionally, it was, yes, I will do. When do you need it by? Is this something that's an
Mhm.
emergency? Okay. When do you need it by? And then I could hold that date. And I started doing that. Then I was like, okay, well, now that I'm used to it with work and work's going great and, everything's sunshine and rainbows and I have like a well-oiled machine now. It's amazing. Then we get to my personal life. And that's the hardest part because my professional emotional attachment is different than my personal emotional attachment. And I've had to step away a little bit. And touching back on that friendship that I had to
Mhm.
walk away from after 28 years, I had to go to California for a family emergency. It's the first time I've been back to California sober, traveling that far sober. And there was an illness in the family with somebody who's very, very dear to me. And I needed to go and tend to that. I also had to deal with my mother that lives out there and, things like that. And I was only there for a couple of days. So I had some free time. And that free time, I was very choosy on who I gave that to. Something came up with one of my brothers, and he was only available on a specific day. Well, that day collided with my plans with this friend. Me thinking it's not a big deal because it's my brother, I'm just like, hey, I'm not going to be able to meet up with you on Saturday, but I have Sunday free. So if you're free on Sunday, and she lived like 3.5 hours away from where I was going to be, I didn't think it was going to be that big of a deal. And I was like, if you can't meet up, it'll be fine next time. This turned into a flurry. Seriously, like she made it a big deal because I chose family over her. And that turned into just a snowball effect on how I always choose everything and everybody else but her, like as if it's weird. It was weird. So instead of my old responses, I was just like, listen, I was here on a family trip. I'm sorry that you feel that I've disregarded our friendship in any way, shape, or form over anybody else. This is no excuse, but the references that you have are referring back to the past. And again, if this is how you choose to end a 28-year relationship, I'm sorry you feel that way. I wish all the happiness and success in your life. Congratulations on purchasing your new home. I love you. Her birthday was just a week ago. Still text her happy birthday. Just because I'm not that person. But I had to healthily go, this is a conditional relationship. Same with my mom. My mom's in an ice box right now. Just not literally, people. A metaphorical ice box.
I love that we have to clarify that now because of the day and age.
But people who might see this that know me are just like, well, she is a little morbid. So this isn't the Bernie dude that put his neighbor or whatever into an ice box and somewhere in Corsica, I think, Texas. But all of that being said, I had to put my mom on ice and be like, I can't. And she's disrespecting my boundaries. These boundaries are important. And I think this is kind of like where you were going. But these boundaries are very important and they're imperative to me staying sober because I have a million drinks still left in me, Dara. I got a million drinks left in me. I don't have another drunk. I don't. Which is why I don't drink now. I consciously don't. And boundaries are very important. Boundaries and accountability are very, very important for my sobriety. And if you are going to challenge my sobriety, you don't have a place in my life anymore. And it has to be that dire.
Yeah.
And so professionally, it was the same way. When I was in rehab, it was crazy. My therapist there, because they were just like, well, traveling for work might not be good for your sobriety, da 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 da. And I'm like, listen, this is my career. Can't just leave. I love my job. I love my career. I'm like, listen, I'm going to go back to my job. If my job is detrimental to my sobriety, I will address that if I get there. I was very transparent with my director. He knows everything that I've been through. Very, very supportive. My entire team is very supportive. I'm also not shy about my sobriety. So that goes to accountability. But I figured that if me traveling for work and doing everything that I did was going to challenge my sobriety, then I would figure it out. And my team that really loves and is there for me will help me figure that out. I won't go without a roof over my head. I won't go without food in my belly. It's not going to happen. I have to adjust a little bit, pivot, if you will, but that's just the jam and you have to do that, and you have to reevaluate things, or you will get yourself into a situation to where you are going against what your values and your morals are.
Yep. And I'm like, we could just leave it right there because that was just so much wisdom. Oh my gosh. I really hope people hear what you just said, in that people are going to see everybody's going to have opinions on what's right for you.
Mm-hmm.
But in the long run, you have to fully acknowledge what you want, make a commitment, and be willing to just pursue it relentlessly and say, this is who I am, this is what I'm about, and I won't settle for anything less, including my own actions. And just have that internal responsibility and that courage to tell others, you know what, you may see that for me, and if it comes to that, I'll address it. But this is what I see as best for me. And that takes amazing strength. Can I tell you, the woman I used to know didn't have that kind of strength. I love that.
The emotional clarity is crazy. You and I've always known you as a spiritual person, and we would have conversations about it. What I have found, especially just through this journey through sobriety and going back and learning from my past and working through these things that I've been avoiding, is just that, like, I don't know how to describe it, but there's days when I step back going, I can't believe this is my life. And not once. I mean, there's been situations where I was like, if there was a time that I would want to drink, right now is it. Like, I would, like, right now would be it. And it's so funny because my higher power likes to challenge me, going, okay, we're going to rock the boat a little bit because I want to see if you're actually absorbing and putting into process what I'm teaching you. People come and go in your life. When I moved here, I met my best friend. It's like we've known each other our entire lives, and that girl's had my back nonstop since I moved here. And you and I actually worked with her husband, so that's how I met her. And right. And she just, when the hurricanes hit, I sheltered with her and her family while we were waiting for, our individual places to get finished or moving or anything. I realized a relationship I never think was going to be a relationship. My boyfriend's amazing and hugely supportive. And it's been awkward for us getting to know each other like this. And there's been compassion and things that we've had to have. And I have had to get down on my knees with my higher power, praying just to give me strength to be understanding, because I've had to sit and let them air their grievances to me. They don't do it like, they're not like sitting there with cards going like this, checking off the boxes, but they needed to have their platform too, because I hurt a lot of people, not intentionally, but I did. And I did wrong people, and I did lie and cheat and essentially steal too, because shoot, when you're deep in addiction, that's what you're going to do. We're opportunistic. That's just what it is. But again, going back to what I learned about myself, I'm a hugely loving person, and I'm in my pink era. I don't know where my pink hoodie went, but I'm in my pink era right now. What? Oh girl, I got bubblegum pink sheets. But all of that being said, I'm healing. Okay. I got off the plane, right, and I'm wearing a bubblegum pink Victoria's Secret hoodie, and no black. Wearing no black. My boyfriend's like, well, what is happening? So yeah. It's funny, but all of that being said, I have a softness about me, and I had to sit there and I had to listen to them tell me about things that I truly didn't remember. It's so jarring. I call her my niece. My best friend's kids are like my niece and my nephew. And I had to hear my 14-year-old niece go, Kimmy, remember this? And I'm like, honey, I don't. And they're telling me stories about me passing out on the couch, things like that I don't remember. Right. But then also at the same time, like she came and visited me when I was in rehab with her mom, and I want to give back to them everything that they've given me. But there's also some people where I've looked at the relationship going, okay, you don't it doesn't have a place in our lives anymore.
Yep.
And not staying longer than I need to. And I almost left this job when I got out of rehab just because I was like, I don't want to face what I've done. Do you know how much I've had to face since that I did while I was still drinking and messing up and stuff like that? I had to face a lot. I had to do a lot of being very humble, and asking for forgiveness and doing that stuff. But now I've been blessed with a lot more responsibilities with work, a lot of trust. Relationships are growing, relationships are pivoting. Not every day is great. I made a post a while back regarding sobriety because I share my sobriety very, very open on my social media platforms. And I'm like, I had people DMing me, which is weird, and just saying, I love hearing you being so candid about your sobriety because it's not always great and butterflies. And trust me, when you first get sober, if you're really about it, like people dive straight in. I was never the going to meetings all the time doing all that stuff. I do intensive therapy anyway. So I'm still doing these things, but not everybody's journey is the same. But the days that are okay are the days that you have to be the scaredest. When things are going great, there's no ripples in your water. There's not even a bloop bubble and everything's perfect. Those are the days that are scariest for me. Not anymore,
Why?
but they were for a while.
Why?
Because again, like you had asked, I survived at the beginning. I've always survived in chaos. You throw me in a pit of fire, I could figure out how to get out of it. You throw me in a serene lake, I'm like, okay, the Loch Ness monster is underneath me. Something's going to happen. I'm always prepared for doom and gloom, always prepared for the worst case scenario. I had a person at a meeting that I went to a speaker meeting, one that I try to make fairly often over in downtown Tampa. And this, oh gosh, it'll come to me, but just hearing, now I just lost my train of thought because I'm trying to remember. But it's all the stuff like rushes into you. But again, like when things are going crazy and you're always bracing yourself for that's where I was going. You're always bracing yourself for the worst case scenario. That's what you're putting out in the universe if you really think about it. Everything that you put out, you get back. Okay, it's just and it's it takes its tolls right here and there. But if you're constantly bracing yourself and expecting the worst is going to happen. Because if you are looking for something, you're going to find it. That's what I was trying to get at. And so I tried to switch my way of thinking instead of going, okay, worst case scenario, right? Minimizing everything. Oh, I'm the queen of minimizing too, by the way. I'm told. I think that's just being brought up in a Korean household, but it's all doom and gloom. So
I think as women, we tend to do it as well, just in general.
We do. And that's the other thing that I've been trying to work on also. But I try to think about what are my expectations of this situation, whatever it may be. What do I want out of it? My therapist just recently, and I'll reference her all the time. She just a few weeks ago, she assigned me this little worksheet where I have to write down what a relationship looks like to me without putting my partner into the scenario, which is very, very difficult because you emulate, you're going to reflect what you have. And it took me a while, and I was able to start doing it about a week ago, and just writing down not just a romantic relationship, but relationships in general, because it'll generally be in various degrees the same. And the first three things that popped out to me is accessibility, safety, and honesty. If you really think about those three things, that's all any of us really want in any relationship. Accessibility, safety, and I forgot the other one. Accountability, I think, is the other one, or honesty.
Yes,
So I had to start really thinking
absolutely.
about that. And it's very hard to hold true to it sometimes, but at the same time, we're
Mhm.
human, you know,
Mhm.
and as long as we remain accountable and we allow people to hold us accountable and we can hold them accountable to
Absolutely.
expectations. So, you know, because you have kids and you're married and you know you're and then even like you know building your business and doing all of these cool things that you're doing, you still have to be able to do the hard stuff like, hey, I need this by this time, or you know, it's so freaking difficult, but
Mhm.
it's so rewarding too because you know, deep down in your soul, deep down in my core, I don't have that panic response anymore. And I say that a lot to people
Good.
because they're just like, how do you just know? And I was like, I never
Mhm.
understood why stupid people be like, when you know, you know. I'm like, what? Huh? What? I am not smoking the same thing you are. So I don't know what's going on because I never fully understood that until now. Like when you
Mhm.
just know, even something that would be so chaotic to you and so traumatic to you before, you just know. You have faith that it's
Mhm.
going to work out the way that it's going to.
Mhm.
You can try to drive the ship. You can try to steer the ship all you want, but it's gonna go the path that it's gonna go. And and that's hard. That's hard giving, you know, surrendering. It goes back to surrendering too. I mean, that's one of the
Absolutely,
it's the
especially
first
when
step every
you're
day.
like control freak person that maybe you're drinking or whatever. Yeah, right?
Mm-hmm.
We have our coping mechanisms to hold on to that control. And it's learning to just surrender and trust and know um, God's ways are best. I mean, I don't hide that at all. And so I
No.
love seeing you just come to life. I cannot express that enough. Okay. And to hear that you're wearing pink, if y'all knew this woman 10 years ago, you would know how ridiculous of a statement that is. But I also get it too in learning to do relationships after trauma. I it took me, Matt and I, okay, we were married. I'm gonna be very, very vulnerable here for a second, but we were married. Now, mind you, we dated for 3 years before we got married. We
Mm.
were married for a year before he could touch my face while being intimate, and I didn't flinch.
Well,
And
yeah,
I
then
remember the first
that's the
time he
response.
did that, and I realized, and I didn't flinch, and I didn't have that visceral response. I was like, this is what safe feels like. It's
Mm-hmm.
like, and so we're coming up on 6 years being married. We were together for 3 years first. He's officially my longest relationship. But I also had to learn that what I took as his possessiveness, because that's how it had been displayed to me and others before him,
Mm-hmm.
wasn't a possessiveness as of I'm going to control and hold. It was a this is mine and I want to protect. And that's a
Yes.
completely different way to come at it. So I love that you are learning what a healthy you looks like and what healthy relationships look like. Um, and so I want to wrap up with asking you this
Mm-hmm.
question
Mm-hmm.
because you've described feeling calm and secure and consistent, but also that little baby giraffe learning how to walk, right? So, what excites you the most about who you're becoming?
Oh, it's the journey. It's um it's the pathway. I girl, I'm working with a realtor right now and a lender to buy a house in Florida. Um, so many miracles have happened in just 8 short months. I mean, um, I do get really emotional talking about sobriety because I never thought that I would be here. Um, and going back to hearing people that I've asked, you know, that mean a lot to me, what it's like. What was it like before I made the decision myself? I got myself a bed. I did everything. I called my best friend and was like, "Hey, can you drop me off at detox tomorrow?" She's like, "I will come stay with you tonight." Telling my boyfriend, and it's just, just asking, how did that feel? And a lot of it
Mhm.
was relief. Because to be quite honest, a lot of bad things were going to happen. I mean, Lord knows I don't even know if I'd still be alive. It was that bad. And waking up every day, and some days, uh, sometimes it's rough, and sometimes I don't sleep because perimenopause is shit. Um, but
Uh-huh.
also, I want so badly for everybody to feel how I feel every day.
Mhm.
How I feel so free. How even if I can say this because he's not sitting there now. Um, Even if like the relationships in my life don't last forever, I had those moments, and I know
Mhm.
what it feels like, and how I want to be loved, and how I want to be treated. And I have my tribe now, and I have so many exciting things to do and things to accomplish, and I have a whole cheer squad that just wants me to succeed.
Mhm.
And I can make a mistake, and it could make me spiral like it did last week. And my boss just calls me just to go, just shut up about that. We'll fix that. That's fine. Are you okay?
Mhm.
Are you okay? What do you need from me? I was like, I just need to get done with this meeting, and I want to go back to my hotel, and I want vanilla frozen yogurt with gummy bears, and I want to sit there and watch Lifetime. That's all I want to do, because vanilla ice cream with gummy bears is freaking bomb. But he was
Don't they
like,
get
finish.
hard
He's
and
like,
chewy?
no, it's, why does everybody think that's a weird combination? Try
I just think
it.
of cold gummy bears. They would get harder to chew.
They do in a sense, but they'll soften. But yeah, that's really what excites me most about this entire journey and everything, is just what's going to be there, what's coming on down the pipe, and where all of this is going to go, and it's very exciting.
Oh, I cannot wait to just see what the next 5 years unfolds for you. I've seen the last, and I cannot wait to see what this next set is for you. It's going to be amazing. Um, any final words for our guests?
Well, I think I've said a lot.
Oh, well, thank you so much for trusting me and your time today. I
Yes,
appreciate
and
it.
thank you for asking me. It's so great. We have to catch up even more. Definitely for
Absolutely.
sure.
Thank you for spending your time with us today on Her Becoming. And a special thank you to our guest today for sharing her story so openly. Women like her remind us what courage and growth look like in real time. I'm grateful if this conversation encouraged you, but I hope it does something else. I hope it also reminds you of something important. Your story is not finished yet. Wherever you find yourself in the process, keep building. And if someone came to mind while you were listening, consider sharing this episode with them. You never know how a story of becoming might encourage someone else to keep moving forward. Until then, thank you for being here. And while we're all still building, please pardon our dust.